Hello everyone, welcome to the session. Today we are going to discuss grade 10th CBSE chapter A Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. This chapter is an extract from the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, the first Black president of South Africa. So let's get started. South Africa remained under British rule for more than 3 centuries. Since 1948, a very cruel policy of apartheid, separation, segregation on the basis of race was followed by the white rulers. According to this policy, the whites and non-whites were kept separate from each other. They were educated under separate systems and were kept in or out of certain areas. The blacks of Africa bitterly opposed such racial discrimination. At last, after a long struggle, democratic elections were held in which Nelson Mandela was elected as the first Black president of South Africa. On 10th May 1994, Nelson Mandela was sworn in as the first Black president of South Africa, and there were wild jubilations among the blacks of the country. It was the morning full of hope. The sky was clear and bright. For the first time in the country's history, so many international leaders, dignitaries had come together for their inauguration ceremony. The ceremony took place in an open circular building, amphitheater made of sandstone, consisting of union buildings in Pretoria City. On that lovely autumn day, Nelson Mandela was accompanied by his daughter Zenani. And on the podium, the stand, the dais, Mr. De Klerk was first sworn in as the second deputy president. Thabo Mbeki was sworn in as the first deputy president. Then came the turn of Nelson Mandela, and he committed to respect, protect, and abide by the Constitution and devote his entire self for the well-being of the people. Mandela recalls briefly how this day was celebrated and what his feelings were at the time of celebration. The whole history of South African struggle and also the history of his own life came alive before his imagination. He recalls previous rulers, they were discriminatory and their rule lasted for long. But now, ANC, African National Congress, would stand up against discrimination. There was a time when South Africa, for practicing apartheid, lost all its international political relations. Now, when there is no segregation on the basis of race and gender, other nations are happy to have healthy democratic relations. Just after the newly elected president's address to the audience, there was an impressive arrangement of fighter jets, helicopters, and soldier transporters that raised everyone's heads up high in the sky. It symbolized perfection as well as military's respect and obedience towards the free country. The high commanders who have won many medals for their bravery also saluted and promised their loyalty. Mandela mentions that he was well aware that these commanders who are saluting him would have arrested him under the previous rule. as during the oppressive white supremacy, he was considered as a criminal. Finally, a chevron, a pattern in the shape of V of Impala jets, left a smoke trail of black, red, green, blue, and gold of the new South African flag. He remembers the day as the playing of two national anthems. The white singing Nkosi Sikelele e Africa, and the black singing Thy Stem. On that day, no one knew the wordings of the anthem of the black, but Mandela, he was confident that everyone would soon learn this anthem that they once hated. He recalls that because of apartheid, one of the world's most brutal and inhumane society was born in Africa. He pays tribute to thousands of South African patriots who suffered endlessly and sacrificed their lives for the cause of freedom. He calls himself merely the sum of all those patriots who had gone before him. Great patriots, men of such extraordinary courage, like Oliver Tambo's, Walter Cecilus, Chief Lutillus, Yusuf Dadus, Bram Fisher, and Robert Suiba-Quist. He mentions that this hard time had its negative impacts, but it also exposed a lot of strong and courageous men who stood up and raised their voice. Thus, it required that level of unjust treatment to produce such heroes. South Africa, he says, is rich in minerals and gems, but its greatest strength lies within its people. In fact, we all know that every human being has a responsibility towards his family as well as his society. And generally, under normal circumstances, a person can maintain a balance between the two. But in countries like South Africa, it was never so easy. When a person of color would come up for his society, he would be arrested and taken away from his family, thus keeping them from fulfilling both responsibilities. In the beginning, Mandela did not put his people before his family. But it was later that he realized that in order to be there for his people, he was compromising his duties towards his own family. He had a normal childhood where he had to follow the rules set by his father, the customs of his tribe. As soon as he grew up and began to learn the facts as to how people of color are treated, he decided to stand against it. Nelson Mandela joined African National Congress. It was the fire that completely changed Nelson Mandela as a man, from being scared to brave, a lawyer to one breaking the law, from being scared to brave, a family man to a man without home, and lively man into being a monk. And in spite of all those sacrifices, Mandela bears no ill will against the whites. He says that the oppressor is as much as a prisoner as the oppressed. The oppressor remains chained to hatred. On the other hand, the oppressed ones gain height in character in proportion to the depths of torture he is subjected to. Mandela makes another important observation. He says that the courage is not the absence of fear. In fact, it's the triumph over fear. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but who conquers that fear. Mandela's suffering had indeed made him a man of courage and character. So that's all about this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please do like, share, and subscribe the video. Thank you. Bye-bye.